Good evening and welcome to Virginia's Views and Vibes. I'm your host, Ginny Gardner. I'd like to, before I start, give a shout out to one of my very loyal listeners, Ruth Morocco. Thank you so much for watching, Ruth. It's a pleasure to have you on the team. Before I start tonight, I'd like to read an open letter from the Italian-American Alliance. It was put together in October denouncing anti-Semitism and the atrocities of October 7th. So I will begin. In Italian folklore, there is a story told of a landowner who pleads with his neighbor to help him repair a wall along the river, which is rising in a heavy storm. Without a pause, the neighbor agrees and explains to his family, "It isn't enough that my neighbor needs help, but I also know the flood will not stop at his land." The Italian-American Alliance, a group of over 7,000 Italian Americans who support social justice for all, we publicly denounce anti-Semitism and the scapegoating of Jews that has been exacerbated by a complicit press, universities, schools, social media, the streets, and even in the halls of government. We recognize that in America, such scapegoating has become more unwanted blame on most of the unimaginable groups or ideas that does not comfortably fit in to some revisionist standard. We firmly stand against terror and the attacks against the Jews in this country and the atrocities that have been inflicted on people in Israel on October 7th, 2023. The Italian-American Alliance stands for rule of law, tolerance, and inclusion. We support the rights of all Americans to honor and share their heritage. The Italian-American Alliance believes that an attack on this nation's values is an assault on the bedrock of this country. We call upon all Italian Americans, indeed all American, to defend its unique place in the world by rejecting the forces who would tear us apart. And this is signed by our President, James DiStefano, Chairman Dr. Dom Amara, Vice President Tommy DeMangela, Vice President Dean Saludi, and myself, National Chapter President. And with that, I welcome my guest this evening, Bruce Apotheker. Bruce, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you for having me and
talking about this.
I want to thank the Italian-American Alliance. You know, stood up, have guts. Nowadays, I don't see much of that among some of our politicians, certainly not in the colleges, among some of the professors, the presidents of those universities. So it's very heartwarming as someone who's Jewish to have that support from your group.
Well, we talked about it, and we all felt it had to be done. We stand behind our mission statement, which you heard, and we support and defend this horrible, horrible act that happened. We defend our friends, the Jews. It's that simple.
Well, again, I know I can speak on behalf of all of my fellow Jews out there that we appreciate that. It's some crazy times out there that I've never seen in my lifetime, nor would I ever think that it could happen again.
I agree.
You know, we have colleges that have safe rooms when somebody got elected that they didn't like. Schools would set up safe rooms so the kids could go in there, colleges, and they had stuffed animals in there. It might sound crazy, but this is what they had.
Right. Those
same universities now are allowing that sort of speech to be out there. You know, again, from the river to the sea,
right.
Palestine will be free. All the stuff that we're hearing out there, if you go to Title VI under the Civil Rights Act of 1965, these things, these universities could stop these things because you're supposed to protect all students
right.
on campuses, and it's not happening.
That's right. Wasn't this back in mid-October, weren't there about 2 or 3 kids in a library hiding with no one to protect them because outside was hate screaming for them?
Hate, they were banging on the doors, they were
Yes.
trying to get at them. Again, this hasn't been seen since Nazi Germany.
That's right, World War II.
And here it is, we're living in America, we live in a country where people will flee their homeland to get away from religious persecution. but we have religious persecution going on right here on our streets. We have it going on our college campuses and the schools. And I don't see enough being done by those universities and the school districts to put an end to this.
I agree, and I cannot understand why the state of Massachusetts, some of the mayors in cities and towns, have not stood up and made a statement that they are appalled by what happened. I mean, this, what I read, and it's a late in the evening show, so we can say this, what I read that happened is a horror movie. It's something I would have walked out on. It's unimaginable. It is evil. And are we that desensitized towards what we've heard that we walk about our everyday life without reacting, without saying, what's happening?
Right, there's been, especially among the young, what I call a moral disconnection. These kids are growing up, they don't have a lot of religion in their home. They kind of go out there, they're walking by themselves. They watch TikTok, they're on social media, they get their information from them. You have the SJP, Students for Justice in Palestine, which is a hate organization. All you have to do is listen to their words. And that's what I tell people all the time. Don't take my word, just listen to their words. Now you have it, and this is going back, the misinformation that's out there.
Oh, right, yeah.
We saw when the Hamas actually, a rocket fell on their own hospital, they blamed Israel for it. And what's amazing, Israel has to verify everything. The media questions Israel for every little thing. But Hamas, they take their word unequivocally. The World Health Organization, they take their word unequivocally. If you look at these organizations, if you look at their track record with Israel, it's clear right away that they're anti-Semitic. Not only they're anti-Zionist, but they're anti-Semitic.
Absolutely.
And we're in a situation now that, like I said, I'm very scared, not for myself, but for the younger people out there. I don't know where this is going to lead to.
Yeah.
We're going to have to see. I know the current administration unequivocally said that they were going to support Israel, and now they're walking that back because they see there's the protest, and in the end, it comes down to people want to get revoted back into office.
Yeah.
And that's kind of disheartening. But I know that Israel, very strong nation, very resilient. When you look at it, there's 0.22% of Jews in the world.
Yeah.
In America, it's 2.4%. But Israel's very resilient. They have the means and capabilities to defend themselves, and we can never stop them from maintaining that right to defend themselves. Because again, if you look at what Hamas says, over and over again, they said they're going to come back, they're going to do it again, they're going to do it again. Every day to them would be on October 7th. And you don't hear outrage from the world. No. But you hear outrage if Israel goes to defend itself.
I feel like the press, and I just heard reporting today, there was something that happened, I think in Chicago. Former Mayor Rahm Emanuel, he's now, I think, ambassador to Japan. They wrote outside his vacation home, Nazi swastika. And the way that the press reports it is very strange. They almost make Hamas or the Palestinians, the victims, feel sorry for them. I'm sorry, but Hamas feel sorry for them? This was an unprovoked attack. How do the press does not either seem to get it or they don't want to get it. It's hate speech.
Well, I think quite clearly they do get it, because you can't be someone of reason and not see what happened on October 7th, not see what's happening now. If you go back to the late 30s, early 40s, President Roosevelt had asked the press to really not report on what was going on in the Holocaust camps. And so, my mind, New York Times was complicit in allowing the Holocaust to continue because of, you print that out, you could get some outrage. But I thought something very interesting. In 1942, the American government took a survey and they said, tell us your 3 most hated groups of people. Now this is 1942. We're in the midst of a war, world war. Wow. So Japanese were number 1 for hate. Germans were number 2, and Jews were number 3. So this has always been going on. Growing up, I've lived this. I've heard, so many things. I have a name that a lot of people don't think I'm Jewish, and I hear a lot of comments from people over the years, anti-Semitic in nature. But, one of the greatest privileges that I had, I was the civil rights officer in the city for close to 20 years. And I got a lot of friendships with people from all different religions, all different faiths. If what we see going on there now, it's not the reasonable people that are doing this. Yeah. And, sometimes people will say, talk about Palestinians. I remind them that it was the Palestinians who voted in Hamas.
That's right.
Terrorist organization.
Yeah, that's right. You grew up in Newton, and you just shocked me when you said what you said. You said you lived it. Did you find growing up? Well, you came
originally
to Newton
from
when you were
Roxbury and Dorchester.
okay.
Yep.
So when you came here and you were a police officer here, I always thought, and I'm a little older than you, but I always thought we all made it work. When I went to high school, in elementary school, we were just there. It was all different. We didn't know who anyone was. We didn't know what religion. It wasn't important. When did that change, and why did that change? It feels like we were hit in the face with hate, and suddenly everybody's at each other's throats. I don't understand it.
Well, I'll tell you, like they always say, you can't walk in, you don't know until you walk in someone else's shoes. When I was a young man back in the 1970s, I used to drive a truck for my father delivering meat to the soul food restaurants. And there was a man, Mr. Baker. He was 85 years old. Now, this is 1975. And Mr. Baker was born in the 1800s. And I would say to him, Mr. Baker, what was it like growing up down south as a young man? And he said, in those days, you didn't have machines. You only had men. Men pulled riverboats by hand. Men did all these things by hand. So it's those conversations. Now, if I never had that conversation with him, I never would have known what his life experiences were. And that's why we all live in our own little silos.
Yeah.
And I couldn't begin to tell you what it's like to grow up Italian. And the Italians faced a lot of discrimination when they came to this country, so did the Irish. Yeah. And, but like you said, somehow we all made it work. But growing up, you do hear things. And I remember one of the first months I was a police officer, I overheard another officer say that they didn't finish the job in Auschwitz. Now, he didn't know I was Jewish. And so I, confronted him. I told him, and he said, well, I didn't mean it. Well, he meant it, because that's why he said it. He said it to someone else. So when I was a little boy, I used to say to my grandmother and mother, who hates the Jews? They'd say everybody. And again, if you live in the shoes of someone else, you can understand some of these things. But I never thought in my life the openness of the anti-Semitism now. I know. The river to the sea, which means basically the genocide. It is the genocide of the Jewish people, the state of Israel. And in 1937, Palestinians rejected a state. 46, they rejected a state. You can go on and on. If you can go down to 2000, Ehud Barak met with Palestinian leader Arafat with Clinton. And 97% of all of the disputed land was going to be given to them. But Arafat refused that. And why? When he passed away, they realized that he had a net worth of about $20 billion. So he was taking all the money, and that's what's happening now. If you look at the Hamas leaders who live in Qatar, they have an estimated worth between them of about $11 billion. Real estate holdings about $500 million. The money that's supposed to be going to the Palestinians in that area for humanitarian aid over the last so many years, it's been taken by Hamas to build infrastructures, the tunnels underground, rockets. They take the water pipes and they're making rockets out of them so the people can't have water. They build these infrastructures, the headquarters underneath the hospitals. And somehow, yet, October 7th, and all this is the Jews' fault. It's just, it's a crazy world.
It is a crazy world. And you know what? For anyone that thinks it was Israel's fault, they haven't been listening, because a few things happened. First of all, they were innocent people going about their day. Innocent people. No one did anything. There was no declaration of war. And to read what happened, to what they did, the terror, the vicious, evil act on men, women, children's, babies. They abducted hundreds. We don't know how they are. And if we don't speak out and say, we stop.
Right.
Stop. I look at this map, and we talked about this, and you can't see it, but maybe a little bit. You can't even see Israel. They have something, if you're looking at the green, honest to God, it's not even the size of a letter. A letter. And to me, what happened that morning was evil, pure evil. Pure evil. I don't want, it's difficult for me to say what happened. I know what happened, but that's a horror movie to me. That's something I never thought would happen again. Anything like that.
Right. Yeah.
Anything. We say never again. We mean it when we say never again. And for this to have happened, how did it happen? And how now do you have this reaction when you see, the other thing that I read was CNN reported and found to be true, impartial CNN Gaza reporter joined Hamas, the terrorists, during the mass slaughter of 1,400 Jews. The reporter was filmed carrying a grenade into the kibbutz, into the massacre, and the word used, massacre. And again, atrocities to innocent people that were celebrating at a music festival, that were celebrating a Saturday morning, and there was a holiday that weekend. Atrocities, beheading, burn alive, butchers, killing children in front of their parents, killing parents in front of their children, rape, disembowelment of bodies, cutting babies out of the womb. This isn't war. This is savage. This is murder. I support Israel. And I said it in my letter, and I'll say it again. You cannot read this and not say it's evil. It's evil. And we need to stop it, and we have to stand up and be counted.
Hey, Jenny, you have a phone call?
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, John. John.
That's okay. That's all right. We can, actually, it's kind of we can change the direction. Now let's talk a little bit about, the hospital bombing, because they're saying the hospital, why would that even happen? First of all, as you said, it wasn't bombed by Israel.
Right.
But under that hospital is over 311 miles of underground tunnels by Hamas. And in that hospital was headquarters for Hamas. So who does that? In a hospital with 1,500 patients, 1,500 doctors, workers. They put their headquarters where there were grenades, ammo, the technology to conduct a war. What are they hiding? What is going on? And again, how anyone can think this is okay?
Well, you know what? You got a command and control center under those hospitals. Like you said, you have all those other miles of tunnels that connect to that. What Hamas wants, and what they've always wanted, they want a retaliation by Israel that would strike a hospital, that will strike a school, because that's where they have those missile launches. That's where most of the attacks come from. So they're sacrificing. I don't even want to use the word sacrificing. They're making it that they want Israel to kill the Palestinians. They want that response from them.
Yeah.
So again, it's just something that I've never seen this in my life. And to see these young people out there marching without knowing the facts, they just have no idea. They think of Israel's committing the genocide. If you look at when Israel pulled out in 2005, they gave everything to the Palestinians. There was no control at all by Israel. When you look at the West Bank, everything there is, the Palestinians are living there in peace. They're going back and forth to work in Israel every day. Israel would never deny anybody anything. But again, what you have Palestinians that voted in a terrorist organization. And I think it's something that they didn't realize was going to turn on them.
Yeah. Let's talk about the UN, because the UN gives money. to Palestine in Palestine. With the money, they take the money and they teach their children. They teach their children hate.
Yep.
Hate, and I say hate. They teach little ones in preschools how to behead somebody.
Yep.
They teach 12-year-olds. This is what they teach them every day with money from the UN. 12-year-olds, how to be a suicide bomber. How does the UN answer that?
Well, first you got to look at the UN itself. If you look at the UN resolutions against Israel, and you wanted to print that out, the small little country like you showed,
Yeah.
You better have enough paper in your printer to print out all the UN resolutions against Israel. Meanwhile, you've got in China, they're killing the Uyghurs, they're using them as slave labor. Syria's killed about 1.5 million Muslims. If you look at what Jordan did back in the 1970s on Black Sunday, upward between 30 to maybe 100,000 Palestinians killed. Egypt closed their doors on them. But yet, again, it's always Israel. Israel's the one. Israel trains their soldiers not to kill civilians, whereas their enemies train their soldiers to kill civilians.
Right.
And again, the UN, I have no respect for them. Now you have Iran, who's in charge of the human rights sector of the UN right now. You can't make this stuff up.
No.
If you were to write it in a book,
can't.
people would say, it's fiction, but it's real life, and that's what you got. Iran wants to get all Western people out of that area. They want to control the petroleum. They want to control that whole sector, and like they call Israel the little Satan, America the great Satan.
Yeah.
As we've all seen over the last couple of weeks, our bases have been attacked 60-something times.
Yeah.
Half of our soldiers, out of most of the injuries, got traumatic brain injuries. And we have really basically no response from our government.
Right.
Every now and then they may hit a ammunitions depot or something like that. But these people, they understand strength. When there was an attack on our Navy at one point, when Ronald Reagan was in, and what he ended up doing was, when he wiped out half of the Iranian Navy, we didn't hear from them again. But that's what you have to do, because they understand
Right.
strength.
Right.
And what's very terrifying is we keep giving billions of dollars. Our government gives billions of dollars to Iran. When Donald Trump was in office, he basically had them strangled, lack of money, lack of funds for other things. And now the people started rising up against them. And that's what you want. You want the people to take over. People forget, you and I are a little bit older, the way Iran was before
Yeah.
there was a takeover by the mullahs and things like that. So it's just it's a world that you can't make this stuff up. But again, their goal is to wipe out Israel. They want the nuclear weapons to wipe out Israel.
Yeah.
They say it, and people are going to listen to their words.
Yeah. For me, as I told you, I'm Christian, and the Holy Land is so close to my heart. I believe what Paul said in the Bible: "You will bless the Jews; you will give them Israel. If you bless Israel, you will be blessed. If you scorn Israel, you will be scorned." What's happening there is satanic, and I'm kind of tired of hearing people say, "Well, it's Israel." It is not Israel. It is a satanic agenda that we have allowed, we've become numb to. This is the Holy Land. This is the Holy Land. It was given to the Jews by God. And Bethlehem, Nazareth, Capernaum, I'm probably saying that wrong, where the Lord, my Lord and my God, walked on water, miracles. And that Holy Land, that belongs to Israel.
Right.
That belongs to the Jews. There's no two ways about it, in my opinion. Matthew, the Sea of Galilee, where Christ walked on water. He fed people that were hungry. Water to wine. I mean, to me, this land is beautiful, and it belongs to the Jews, and it belongs to Israel. And it's that simple. What happened there is a satanic thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can't comprehend what happened there. And when you were talking about all the atrocities, and they baked some babies. They put them actually in ovens, and they baked and killed them. So
Yeah.
anybody that's out there marching and they're shouting, you know, basically death to Israel.
Right.
They don't even see these things. Even though there's facts, people will say there was no kidnapped hostages. What type of depraved person rips down posters
Yeah.
that has the kidnapped victims on there? They'll put up pictures and posters of lost animals, but they're
Right.
tearing down
Right.
pictures of these kidnapped people, and it's just, it's satanic, like you said.
Yeah, it really is. They're saying 3 minutes. I'd like you to get the last word on this, Bruce. I mean, what can we do? The IAA, the Italian American Alliance, stood up and said, we absolutely condemn what happened. Everyone should be doing that.
Right.
What say you about this?
Well, the biggest thing is that the voices that have to be heard, and like,
Yep.
you know, the Italian American Alliance it's one of the voices. If you watch the big rally last week in Washington, D.C., what I saw bipartisan support. I saw Representative Johnson, Representative Jeffries out there, Schumer, that sort of bipartisanship supporting Israel. I saw Representative Johnson, his first act as the new Speaker of the House, condemned Hamas, condemned the attacks.
Right.
This is what we need. We need these bipartisan supports from the administration, all three branches of government, the courts to rule on, you know, these speeches that are ruled to be free speech.
Right.
There does come a line where it is basically yelling fire in a building. So, you know, what's the answer? I think it's having parents having discussions with these kids who are going off to school. Don't let schools take control of your kids.
That's right.
When you look at the money that's being given, maybe there could be something where the money coming into these universities like Cornell, who got $1.4 billion
Right.
from Qatar, and then you have a professor saying he felt exhilarated by the attacks.
Right. He should have been fired.
He should have been fired, right.
Should have been fired.
But
that day.
they're not, and you have, like you were talking about the kids on the college campus, they had to lock themselves in the library.
Yeah.
We
In
need-
America, in
right.
the United States of America. Shocking.
No other group would be going through this right now,
Right.
but people turn the blind eye to the Jews.
Yeah. And we can't let that happen. We want you to know that you're not alone. The Italian American Alliance made a big statement that day. You are not alone. We will stand side by side with you. And we will pray and stand right with you, and we pledge that.
You know what? And that makes my heart feel so warm. It does, and I know, like I said, my fellow Jews out there, it's the same thing. We stood and we marched with everybody. We marched in the Civil Rights Movement. We were marching
Yeah.
alongside the Asians when they were going through the Asian
Yep.
hate.
That's right.
But everybody turns their back on the Jews when in the time of need. But the Italian American Alliance, they open up their arms and they've embraced us, and we're embracing you back. And God bless you and the organization.
Thank you. And you are not alone. Thank you for joining us. Come back again.